Hey, I'm Killian, and there's nothing I like more than coming back home after a stressful day, turning on my TV, turning on my PlayStation, and making even more stressful decisions in video games. So no surprise that I was really into Until Dawn by Supermassive Games, which is essentially just an interactive B-horror movie. Instead of shouting at the characters in a horror movie saying, "Why are you making all these stupid dumb decisions, you idiots?" You're the one that gets to make the stupid dumb decisions. And depending on your stupid dumb decisions, everyone can either live or die. But something that surprised me even more than the copious amounts of jump scares in the game, something that you don't really find in a story-driven game, collectibles. Because there's a lot of good reasons why you don't put collectibles in story-driven games. Like, if you want a player to be engaged in the story you're trying to tell, you also don't want them wandering around for hours thinking, "Oh, I hope I don't miss any collectibles behind this tree or something." And an even bigger issue, how are you supposed to reward the player for finding all these collectibles? Like in other games, you find all the collectibles, you get a secret outfit or access to like a secret level, something that you can't do in a story-driven game. Yet despite all those reasons, Supermassive Games says, you know what? Fuck it, we're gonna put not one type of collectible in their game, we're gonna put two types of collectibles in their game. The first type of collectibles I'm gonna be talking about are clues. Video game protagonists, they're pretty competent for the most part, pretty good at saving the world. But sometimes, they're also kind of like big dumb babies. Sometimes, if something leaves their peripheral vision, they're kind of like, well, that never happened. And that's especially true for collectibles. Like, take for example, The Last of Us. Just, off the top of my head, I didn't have this prepared or anything. You find collectibles in The Last of Us in all kinds of places. Freaking abandoned buildings, abandoned ships, abandoned sewers. For all the interesting side stories that you can pick up and read on notes that you just come across as Joel, every time he finds one, he just hunkers down, looks at it, and then hunkers back up and gets on his merry way. And it's kind of like it never happened. Like, he never brings it up to Ellie. He never says to himself, "Well, that was some crazy shit that happened there." It's like the player knows exactly what happened and what transpired, but Joel could really give less of a shit. Like, specifically in The Last of Us, there's a segment where you go into the sewers and you're coming across all these notes about how these people lived in the sewers and what happened to them. And then at one point, Joel's companion says, "Hey, I wonder what happened in these sewers." And it's like, Joel, you know what happened in these sewers? You could just tell them right now exactly what happened. But Joel just says fucking nothing, just shuts the fuck up. I didn't find any notes that explained exactly what happened here. Nope, not me. So I start playing Until Dawn. I'm picking up these story-related collectibles called clues. I'm L.A. Noir in them, twisting around like I've never seen a fucking newspaper in my life before. And I'm like, alright, here we go. Same shit, different game. I'm gonna work out the mystery. These people are gonna be like, "Oh, what's going on here?" Like, I walk into this room off the beaten path, come across this creepy voice message as Chris. Clue found. Chris is like, "Oh, that's weird." I'm like, yeah, whatever, Chris. You freaking airhead, you're not gonna remember any of this. I'm walking around in this library, I come across this light coming from below. Chris is like, "Oh, did you see that?" I'm like, shut up, Chris, shut up. Another clue for me, another thing for you to forget. But then, shit starts hitting the fan, and I get this little cutscene.
There's some criminal up on the mountain with us?
There was a message on this answering machine I found, and it was from this sergeant saying that there was this guy who had just gotten out of prison and that there was nothing he could do.
What do you mean?
He was saying it like a warning. I mean, maybe that's whoever was down in the basement before.
What?
Under the floorboards in the library, the light.
And that's when my fucking mind was blown. Characters in Until Dawn remember what clues you pick up. This isn't a stupid baby scenario. If you pick up clues, they'll actually reference them in later chapters and use that to figure out what the hell's going on. It might seem inconsequential, since the clip I showed, it only changes a couple dialogue options had you not found those clues. But without going into too much spoilers, if you don't find certain collectibles in later parts of the game, it will have an effect on the fate of some characters. Knowing that the characters actually learn from the clues you pick up make them 10 times more worthwhile than like any other collectible. Clues are great because it's not just you that's finding the clue.
Holy shit. Oh, what happened here?
And the second and last collectible I want to talk about are totems. One thing I don't think story games get enough credit for is that they have to make you have these decisions, and they have to feel surprising without also feeling totally bullshit. Like, if you give a player two options and they both seem kind of inconsequential, the player picks one option and it just totally fucks them, it could just feel completely out of nowhere. So you just feel bad about it. It's kind of just, you like blame the game. But then on the other hand, you can't have every outcome just be a good outcome, because then there's no stakes at all. You're never gonna feel threatened in the slightest. So most games you have to have at least one or two kind of bullshit outcomes just to feel like they got you in some way. But Until Dawn says, no thank you, we're gonna get away with this little problem with our little totems. See, totems, when you pick them up, you get a brief little glance into a future event, some kind of something that is gonna happen in the future. And there's freaking all types of these totems. You got totems for seeing your friends in danger, totems for seeing your friends dying, totems for seeing like some freaky, totems for like freaky shit. But the best kind of totems, you got guidance totems, because these show you the right decision to make when you're presented with those pesky options, those pesky heavy decision options that you gotta make. And since totems are kind of, they're out of the way, you gotta search for them a little bit. It doesn't feel cheap using them, especially since it's only like a little 1 or 2 second thing. You're like, what? I don't know that. But in the heat of the moment, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. And it helps alleviate that bad luck, just randomly getting fucked feeling. Because you think sometimes, you know what? I bet there was a totem out there that could have saved my ass there. And that's all I really want to say about Until Dawn and Collectibles, I think some people might just see this as another one of those choose your own adventures, but I think they're actually doing some real cool little things here and there in this game.
Sorry, we're out of time. Let's investigate that in our next session, shall we?